When the trends are clashing, it's quite interesting what Longines is able to create. We already seen what they did with the Spirit model, an inspired case from their glorious past but sculpted in modern lines. This is a beautiful reinterpretation of a pilot watch, and by the way, the review of this piece is on the top right corner. But today we are looking at the beautiful Longines Heritage Classic. And yes, not an inspired name, but an inspiring watch. Because this piece inherited the design guidelines that made famous the Longines sector dials from 1930s. So we imagine that we are reviewing a piece with roots and a design language implemented almost 100 years ago. Now that's exciting. Longines is mastering the vintage reissue trend. Definitely they are one of the heavy contributors for this vintage inspired wave, but we have to admit, because they were always a respectful brand, they succeeded to create lots of iconic models across years, so they are a legit brand that will have to say lots of things in regard to this reissues chapter. And definitely they know how to revive and put these vintage pieces into the modern scene, considering their original sizes, but applying them into our modern trends. And even though I can't say that Longines is a transparent brand, as in we don't have a dialogue with them, they listen to the trends, they know what we prefer in terms of sizing and styling, and I do appreciate that. As initial impressions, the watch might create confusion. The simplicity of it can be misleading, so we might think that we are looking at a micro brand trying to create their first dress watch with, well, not so good results. But Longines here delivered us a raw experience, the mindset and the craftsmanship of a great early engineered wristwatch. So clearly we are talking about a subtle open dial that offers us the exact echoes of the 30s, having lesser connections with the modern watches that we are used with. And I think it was important to point this out. And purpose-wise, I think this watch arrived on a viable trend where the style and the quirkiness of some of us matters. The watch can be worn as a dressy piece, the size and the style helping in this regard, but it can be also worn on a retro style outfit. Even though the dial is bright, the case and the shape of it feels discreet. The watch can be worn and enjoyed with the vast majority of clothes that we have in our closet, so I would dare to say that this is a daily beater. And design-wise, as I mentioned, this watch landed somewhere in the 30s, between the Art Deco and the Bauhaus design language. To break it down, the Art Deco characteristics are spotted. Having a silver minute track, serving chromatically as the outline for the creamy dial that hosts the sub-dial and the hands, the cardinal positioning of the numerals as well confirms the Art Deco influences. Where the Bauhaus trend had its peak nearly in the same period, where simplicity and order is making contrast with peaceful bright surfaces, contrasted through discrete lines and outlines. So a discrete Calatrava case that hugs a sector dial, tailored following the Art Deco and Bauhaus influences. And I will buy this watch just because there are these cool names involved in the identity of this piece. And if you like this video so far, please subscribe to the Brave Beaters channel for future updates. Thank you very much. So if we put the caliper on this piece, we have a stainless steel case brushed with polished accents that measures 38.5mm in diameter, has a height of 11mm and 19mm between the lugs. The signed crown is not screwed down and offers only 30 meters war resistance, and I'd say enough for the watch profile, but maybe not enough for a daily beater. The heart of this piece is powered by the automatic caliber 893, which is a movement known as the ETA A31501, which is an upgraded version of the ETA 2895-2. with a slower frequency of 25-200 vibrations per hour, but a longer power reserve of 64 hours. And it is fitted with a silicone balance spring, having anti-magnetic properties. And going in depth, dial-wise, we are looking at a beautiful sector dial, meaning that the surface contains closed concentric circles that segment the dial. In our case, having a silver track containing the minute markers and the cardinal numerals, where on top it is populated by the vintage Longines logo, where on the bottom we have a beautiful sub-dial with perfect concentric circles, which represents the small seconds hand track, also being the star of the show, because this sub-dial is the only thing that moves on the dial. So besides the contrast play of the thicker and the thinner circles that separate the minute track from the sub-dial, we have a beautiful accent of the minute hour and the small seconds hand, which are blued exactly as the 1930s model, but blued in a PVD coating because the thermal blued hands feature is not used anymore, at least not by the niched brands. And moving to the case, we are looking at a typical vintage design, discreet compared to the dial appearance. Has a flat bezel, and for its size the straight lugs are quite long, so expect the watch to wear slightly larger. The accent that breaks the rhythm of the elegant case is the crown. Identity-wise, Longines kept the half diamond shape of the original watch, the modern crown being signed with the old logo of the brand. And the crystal is obviously boxed. However, what I noticed I've never seen before on a wristwatch is the base of the boxed sapphire, which is matted. So the transparency of the crystal starts after 2 mm from the base. And on the bottom, I personally like the case backs of the brand, the old logo with the wings. My only complaint here being the polished finish that attracts scratches like a magnet. And we can spot here how the case back looks after it was worn, well, not more than 50 times. And moving away from the case but not too far, the strap is pretty cool. We have a blued patina strap that can be worn with confidence because it's already used. But it is very comfortable and fits very well the watch chromatically. And on the box there is also a grey jeans pattern strap, but I personally see the blue one as the sole winner in the relationship with the watch. The second problem that I see on this watch is the lug distance of 19 mm. I mean, in a way, I appreciate the fact that the brand wants to keep a perfect proportion between the lug width and the diameter or the length. But in terms of straps, besides the common 21 mm, which is already a common size nowadays, we have to buy 19 mm straps as well. And in terms of wearability and comfort, this piece wears very well. It is thin, the case hugs the wrist very well, it is lightweight and elegant, clearly a positive experience on the wrist. However, because of the open dial sitting close to the margin of the case, the watch feels more towards a 40 mm size rather than a 38. So yes, not a small watch on the wrist. And to conclude, Longines definitely has and will have a solid line of heritage offerings for a long time due to its glorious past. The Heritage Classic, the Big Eye, the Legend Diver or the Marine Nationale models are definitely some of the most desired vintage-inspired pieces from the Longines heritage offerings. And accuracy-wise, they are very good. I mean, I trust Longines to create reissues, connecting very well the original vintage pieces with the actual trends. The quality is there for sure. The finishing, the brushing, and the attention to the detail is awesome. However, I always end up being in debate when it comes to pay the retail price for such a piece. I personally think that Longines is pretty pricey for some of their watches, but I'm curious to know what do you think about this Longines Heritage Classic, the design of it and the price positioning of the brand. Please let me know in the comments section. Thank you very much, and until next time, be brave but stay safe.